Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're back with round 3 of the Pokémon TCG European Players Cup. Remember, it's all one tournament, but they have split it into regions until we get down to top 16 overall. Now, round 1, I essentially got a bye because my opponent no-showed. Round 2, and I will link this video in the description, so if you haven't watched it, check out round 2. Spoilers coming. I lost to Blacephalon. Round 1, I didn't set up, or game 1. And game 2, I misclicked, and that basically cost me the game. So now we end up in round 3, and it's an open deck list tournament, and I have a look, and my opponent is playing Blacephalon. So this is like a way to redeem myself, right? This is a way for me to go, no. Actually, I can beat Blacephalon, because that's what my testing showed me, right? My testing showed me that Blacephalon was a favourable game, and it's genuinely a bit upsetting that it went so badly first time round. There are slight differences in the list. There's an Oranguru rather than a Zacian, etc. But the game plan remains the same. Try and take the first KO. I lose if I don't take the first KO, and I bench the Dene because my opponent's playing Cramorant. So try and avoid that, eh? And remember, ladies and gentlemen, I have got a loss. This is a double elimination tournament. If I lose this game, that's it. I'm out. The tournament is over for me. So this really comes down to it. Now, weirdly, I usually never win the coin flip here. I just keep winning the coin flip. There's a fairly... To be fair, that opening hand isn't that bad if I've got a basic. I've got an energy, I've got 2 Pokemon search cards, and I've got a supporter. I mean, it could be worse. You know, if I've got a Spiritomb and I top deck a Rainbow Energy, that's near enough perfect. But hey-ho. So, I think I'm going to go again. I believe I went second here. I think that's what I just said. Remember, I am recording these after the fact because I cannot commentate well and entertainingly and play optimally at the same time. I want to go second here to try and get the first cheeky KO. And it's just... That's not the opening hand. Where are my supporters, right? Playing 8 supporters, statistically, you should open one pretty much every game. Well, I didn't open one last game, so now this is 2 in a row where I haven't opened a supporter. Now, the good news is my opponent opens Oricorio, so I now know my opponent's already got a vulnerable 2-prize Pokemon. If my opponent doesn't take 2 prizes before I get a KO, and I don't play Dedenne, this game's basically in the bag. Because they take the first prize, I take the second. At some point, I KO Oricorio, jump ahead in prizes, boom, it's over. But look at that hand. So what do? Do I just let my opponent take a KO? So that I've then got Zebstrika? And that might be the option, right? Maybe it is just use Quick Ball, search out a Drillbur, accept that the active Drillbur is going to go down, but then next turn, I've got an Excadrill and I've got a Zebstrika. And then as long as I hit a fighting energy, I'm basically rolling from there. I've had some awkward starts so far this time. We're only 3 games in. I've had some awkward starts, but as long as I can get, a couple of attackers and a Zebstrika or 2 down, I will just go through the rest of the game nicely. And my opponent's not playing any way to get their Oricorio off the field, so I'm really not worried at this stage. I don't mind my opponent taking the first KO. And now they benched a Dene as well, or at least they search one. I assume they're going to bench it. So now, and it depends when I draw into my boss's orders, but that's when I try and go for treble Zebstrika and really dig. If I can draw my boss's orders at the right time, then I can potentially just, there we go. So here, even if I have to play my Dedenne, I can potentially just double boss's orders, 1 on Dedenne, 1 on Oricorio, and that's it. That's game. As well as getting 2 KOs on Blacephalon. It depends when I draw into my boss's orders, which is where Zebstrika and Aggressive comes in. But that's what I'm thinking at this stage. I'm thinking, well now, if I go aggro Zebstrika, and I can draw my boss's orders at the right time, then I'm going to be in a great position to actually start moving forward and trying to win the game from there. 1 Dedenne, 1 Oricorio, and then bearing in mind, right, my opponent hasn't tested against my deck. Because as far as I'm aware, outside of me, my deck doesn't exist. I've not seen anyone else playing it. I've not seen anyone else talking about it. And at this point, my opponent probably thinks I'm just playing straight Excadrill. Because there's nothing that I've shown them to suggest otherwise. Except for the fact that they can see my deck list. Yeah, it's an open deck list tournament. Okay, so they know exactly what I'm playing, unless they haven't looked at my deck list, which would be a bit silly. So, at this stage, I'm resigned to probably using Dedenne, but I don't really care. It doesn't bother me in the least. Now, there's another 2-prize Pokemon going down on the field, and at this stage, I'm loving it, ladies and gentlemen. At this stage, I've got multiple options. Now, the reality is I'm probably not going to get free 2-prize KOs, but I can. Like, at this stage, I can just basically just alternate KOs, and we're fine. We're absolutely fine at this stage. If I can get set up. Now remember, annoyingly, this is actually a really good going first. I finally go second. That's a good going first hand. My opponent thought they were going for, I'm sorry, that's kind of on them. So now we can use Quick Ball. And, yeah. So we're actually going Spiritomb here. And now, the reason we're going Spiritomb is very simple. We're looking for the 2-prize KO. Excadrill will get Dedenne, but it won't get Blacephalon, and it won't get Oricorio. So I'm giving up my Drillbur, but I'm alright with this. Now, you'll see again, I didn't play the Dedenne. Looking back on it now, I kind of wish I probably had. I think going Dedenne would have been better, but my thought process here is kind of simple. My opponent has peppered the field with 2-prize Pokemon. I've got a Zebstrika ready to go. If I can just literally... And again, I want free Zebstrika out to dig for boss's orders this game. That's what I'm really looking for. So, I can't have free Zebstrika and a Dedenne on the board, which is why I don't go Dedenne here. I play a bit more conservatively, but I look at my opponent's board and what have they really got? Now, at this stage, it looks like he's going to attack with Blacephalon GX. And that's great for me. I just need Hustle Belt. That's it. That is all I need here. Now, of course, another reason not to play Dedenne is you keep it for later in the game. I've told you I'm going to be aggressively digging for boss's orders as we go through the game. So, having that Dedenne in my deck to do so is a really, really good thing. Now, my opponent still doesn't have a non-GX Blacephalon out here. So I'm starting to think this game is absolutely in my favour now. He's got the KO on Drillbur, but I don't really care at this stage. Like, at this stage, I'm feeling really, really confident. Now, I need to hit something off Zebstrika. But as long as I do, I'm feeling pretty good. Remember, if I get a Hustle Belt, I take 2 prizes this turn. All I need is Hustle Belt. Alrighty then. So, there's a Zebstrika. We could Zeb here, waiting for research, but we don't want to do that. Okay. Now, incidentally, this is why we didn't attach the energy. So now, we're actually making it even more likely. Now, if I bench Jinx now, no, see, I still don't get the KO. Remember, Spiritomb... No, I need the 4 damage counters, because 3 damage count, and I don't want Jinx. Jinx takes up a bench space I don't need to use. Oh my goodness. Remember, I just need a Hustle Belt. 4 damage counters, 120, add the 10 base, 130, add the Hustle Belt, and then it's literally just KO Oricorio, KO Dedenne, go for the win. I want the KO this turn. And you'll notice that's free. I've whiffed it. I still don't have a Hustle Belt. And now this is where it gets super awkward. I could Fione and try and drag another Pokemon up. So now, you see I'm going aggressive, but remember, if I get a Hustle Belt, the game is basically mine. How have I whiffed? If you look at that, right, all I need, if I get the Hustle Belt, I've got 2 Zebstrika on the field. I've then got a Spiritomb and an Excadrill that just need an energy each. I draw 2 boss's orders at some, and I win the game. And I whiff. Now that was a Marnie, a Dedenne, and 2 Zeb Striker. I play 3 Hustle Belt in my deck. I just drew 19 cards. Bearing in mind I didn't have it in hand to start the turn, so it's actually more than 19 cards. And I still whiffed it. And now this is where we have a little bit of remorse, because I got greedy. Remember I said at the beginning of the game, I could alternate KOs here and I'm feeling good. But now I'm not alternating KOs anymore. Now my opponent gets rid of Spiritomb, and now I'm missing Rainbow Energy. And I've lost a bunch of resources. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got Brock's Grit and Ordinary Rod and Pow Pad, and Pokemon losing is the only thing I'm really losing per se is Special Energy. The only thing that's gone and is just not coming back is Special Energy, and I did use basically free Rainbow Energy. Now, it's such a... Because now my opponent's getting 2 prizes with Blacephalon, and it keeps getting worse. Now, they have lost their Cramorant, and I will be flicking back and forth their deck list to kind of have to, but unfortunately, they've not used their Ordinary Rod. So I know they can get their Cramorant back. And you can see there, I've still got plenty of energy and plenty of Pokemon in my deck. I've not lost that many, even as aggressively as I went, I still haven't lost that many resources. And I still only need 3 KOs to get the win, so I'm still not feeling that bad. I still feel like I'm in control of this game. I'm going to probably need 3 unless my opponent attacks with their active GX, I'm probably going to need to hit 3 boss's orders, but I got 2 Zeb Striker on the field, I played 2 boss's orders, I played 2 Pow Pad. It's not like I've not got those things in my deck to use, so I don't feel like... Oh, so they are attacking this turn. So again, they go down to 4 prizes. If I draw, and I literally just need a Darkness Energy here, then that's Spiritomb. Although losing all my Rainbow Energy does really hurt trying to take out that Oricorio. Remember, that Oricorio is what I'm really going to try and use to, take those 2 prizes, but Excadrill's not doing it. So I kind of need my Spiritomb to take out the Oricorio. So now I'm in a slightly awkward position. I've only got 1 more Rainbow Energy left for the game, but I've still got a Rainbow Energy left. The problem is going to be getting a Spiritomb with the damage on quickly enough. There is a strong argument I should have waited and tried to hit Spiritomb this turn. But I've got the energy, so it's not the end of the world there. And I do actually have a Rainbow Energy in hand. So in theory, I can try and dig for a Spiritomb. Now, assuming I've not used Anguish Cry yet this turn, which I don't believe I have. No, Building Spite, sorry. So now I can KO the Blacephalon. The KO of the Blacephalon isn't the issue. The issue is, what do I do with that Oricorio? Now, the play here should be wait for the Spiritomb to get KO'd, then use Ordinary Rod and Great Ball. Oh, don't use Great Ball. Okay, it worked. Ha! Did not think that was going to work. That was not the optimal play. I should have waited a turn. Now, the decision here is whether we Zeb Striker or not. We don't Zeb Striker. It's an awkward thing, right? Because on the one hand, I desperately want to draw my boss's orders, because that's what wins me the game. On the other hand, I've got Spiritomb Rainbow Energy in hand, and I need to play them. You can see I'm anguished in my decision here. Yeah, go on, Mossy, make a decision. Come on, that took way too long. Way too long. But that's the decision I'm making here. It's basically, look, okay. So now we've got Spiritomb, we've got Rainbow Energy, we've got Hustle Belt. So but see here's what's so awkward about this thing. I need Spiritomb the turn after next. So I need 3 damage on Spiritomb in 2 turns. How do I do that? I do it with Rainbow Energy. But if I'm putting the Rainbow Energy on Spiritomb, I'm not putting the unit energy on Excadrill, and I need to put the unit energy on Excadrill in order to get the KO on Dedenne. And now the game is actually falling apart. Because I wasn't able to get that KO early doors, because I whiffed the Hustle Belt, I lost an extra Pokemon, essentially. Which meant an extra attachment. Which meant and I dug hard. And now my energy attachment, and this is the downside of Zeb Striker, my energy attachments aren't working for me at the moment. I have got one Rainbow Energy left. That's it. One for the game. And remember, I put 2 on the same Spiritomb looking for that early game KO, which arguably was over-aggressive and I didn't even need it. Now I'm down to 1 Rainbow Energy left in my deck. I've got to put that on Spiritomb in order to actually get a KO onto Oricorio in 2 turns. But I can't do that and put the energy on Excadrill. And I need boss's orders. Because remember, I'm behind in the KOs now because I whiffed the KO, and that's just mocking me at this stage. Because I whiffed the KO early doors, I now don't have it. So what do? Again, if I've got to take a 2-prize KO this turn. Because if I don't take a 2-prize KO this turn, remember, my opponent took 2 prizes before I KO'd the Blacephalon. If I don't KO a 2-prize Pokemon this turn, my opponent can go single prize Cramorant win. And that's the game. That's literally the game there and then. So now what? Because I don't have the bench space. Now, had I thought a bit further ahead, I could have just gone second Spiritomb Jinx. The way to get a Spiritomb rolling in 2 turns is either with Rainbow Energy or with a second Spiritomb and a Jinx. But now that I've got to discard the Rainbow Energy here. So now that I'm discarding the Rainbow Energy, I don't have the bench space. Did I need to put the other Excadrill down? Probably not, if I'm honest with you. Again, I can sit here and talk about how I'm getting unlucky, and in a lot of ways I am, but by the same token, there are things that I could have done to make this game better. And one of the things that I could have done here was, see there, the Spiritomb Jinx, but I don't have the bench space. Why am I not saving a... And I knew that I got rid of that Rainbow Energy early game. I saw myself do it. I'm the one that did it. And when you lose 3 Rainbow Energy turn 1, you should be thinking, I'm going to need Jinx. Save a bench space. Didn't save a bench space. So now I have to attach the unit energy. Suppose there is an argument to attach Rainbow Energy here so that maybe my opponent takes down a Zeb Striker and then I can Jinx from Excadrill. It's very unlikely, but it's what I should have done. And I get the boss's orders. So I've got the KO on Dedenne, but I honestly don't think it matters at this stage. I think it's irrelevant. Because the problem is, I go down to 2 prizes, my opponent goes down to 2 prizes, at which point, I have got a chance to win the game, but I've got to KO that Oricorio. Can't do it. You know what's also very upsetting here? I can KO the Oricorio if I've got Diancie Prism Star in my deck, but I don't. It goes to the Lost Zone when discarded. It's been discarded. So now all of a sudden, I don't even have an Excadrill play. And again, I've got the Excadrill. I've got the energy. I would probably have the Diancie, but I don't. And essentially, what we're looking at here, it's because the resistance, Excadrill's not going to get the KO. And what I've essentially done here is got an overly greedy, and partly this is nerves, I was properly on tilt this game. Because I lost to Blacephalon round 1 or round 2, depending how you look at it. Round 2, technically, round 1 actually. First one I played. And I knew it was a good matchup. And I've played this game terribly. I did not need to dig so hard for the Hustle Belt. When I dug so hard for the Hustle Belt, I should have realised that the KO on the Oricorio was going to come down to either a Jinx Spiritomb play or a Diancie play. I could have benched Diancie at any point. I could have saved that bench space from the second Excadrill, and at this stage, Jinx is in my deck, so literally all I need to do is hit Jinx and Boss's orders, and I've got 2 Zebstrika down, and then I guarantee win the game. Guaranteed. And I don't have it there. And that's the thing. This is what I try and tell people a lot, right? See, I told you we still had the ordinary rod. This is what I try and tell people a lot. In this game, I got unlucky. I whiffed Boss's orders and had to dig too hard, and that really, really hurt me. If I had drawn Boss's orders when I drew my last Rainbow Energy, I wouldn't have needed to discard it, and I would have the win. I had 2 Boss's orders in deck, 1 Rainbow Energy. I drew the Rainbow Energy without Boss's orders, and that was the only way I lose this game. Whiffing the Hustle Belt was huge and statistically unlikely. Drawing my only Rainbow Energy without drawing one of my Boss's orders was also unlikely. That shouldn't have happened. But here's the thing. I did get unlucky, but if my Diancie is in my deck, I win this game. If I've saved 1 more bench space, I win this game. Now, if I hit the Hustle Belt, I win the game, and if I draw into my Boss's orders, or I just don't draw into Rainbow Energy, but all of that's irrelevant. I lost this game on a couple of incidents, and let's be clear, I've lost this game. Couple instances of luck, but there were things that I could have done. There were plays that I could have made. I threw that game away. I got overly aggressive, and I did not need to. So now I'm sitting here, right, and I'm playing against Blacephalon, and this is it. If I lose this game, I'm out of the tournament. And I came in here saying that Blacephalon was a favourable matchup. And I know it's a favourable matchup because I played it a couple of dozen times in testing. I know the matchup. I went too aggressive after Blacephalon, but now I'm sitting here having gone 0-3 in individual games against Blacephalon, knowing that I've got to win this game to stay in the tournament. Let's just say my confidence is... it's low at this stage. I am not feeling confident. And you see my starting hand, I've got to give up Diancie. Got to do it. I'm not going to evolve that Drillbur before my opponent has a chance to KO. So I've got to feed him Diancie. Yes, we have just got finished talking about how important Diancie is to let Excadrill get a KO on Oricorio. I know that, and you know that now. It's going down. It's gone. And I'm going a turn down, and I'm probably going to have to play Dedenne. You'll notice for the 3rd game in a row, I don't have one of my 8 draw supporters in my hand to start the game. Nor do I have a Blitzel Zebstrika combo, which largely does the same thing. So, I'm probably going to Dedenne. I mean, I don't want to Dedenne, right? Remember what I've said. If I give up the first prize and bench Dedenne, that's how I lose the game. Well, I'm giving up the first prize. Because seriously, right, the only switch I'm playing is 1 copy of Air Balloon. Maybe I hit my 1 copy of Air Balloon. But I don't have anything that can KO Blacephalon. Now, if he leaves a Jirachi in the active, and I hit a Spiritomb, attach the Rainbow Energy, and then hit Air Balloon, then I will get the first KO, and I can afford to Dedenne. It's unlikely, but it is eminently possible that could happen. But, come on, I'm looking for 1 copy of Air Balloon. So my opponent does not have a great turn 1, but they're going to get that Diancie next turn. So, why do we get Spiritomb or Blitzel? We get Blitzel. It's got to be... we want Spiritomb, let's be clear. Because we want to attach Rainbow Energy. It's got to be Dedenne. Had that been a Zebstrika, we could have held off a turn, and I would have done, incidentally. But now I've got to play Dedenne. So now I'm giving up the first prize, and I've got Dedenne on the board. I am 3 games down against what should have been a favourable matchup. And now look, I've had to play Dedenne. I've started with Diancie. And it's just... Yeah, and now I hit the Marnie, but at this stage you look at my board and it's not looking good. Yes, I am fully well aware that I could have just gone lone Excadrill, lone Drillbur. But if I go lone Drillbur and I don't hit another basic, then I lose. Or if I don't hit another attacker, he KOs Drillbur, and then I've got to put up Diancie and I'm 2 prizes behind. I do feel good about putting Diancie active, because there's no guarantee what that Great Ball's going to be. And if I start Drillbur and don't hit a basic off those Great Balls, then I've got to give up Drillbur and Diancie, and that's not looking good. So, it's just an awkward start. The good news is I'm probably going to get a KO next turn, but I've got Dedenne down and it's not looking great. It is not looking great at all. Hey-ho. Now, my opponent has got the one Blacephalon with the energy on. And they've got a couple of Jirachi, so they're probably going to do the Jirachi dance now. It's one of my least favourite things about the format right now. And don't get me wrong, I know it's inevitable, and I know it's the engine for games, but sitting here for several minutes while my opponent Jirachi sometimes 3, 4, 5 times in a turn, using scoop-up nets and all that, it's kind of boring. And again, Blacephalon is a fairly linear deck. Now, there are plenty of decisions to be made. There's resource management, etc. Ooh. Now, I like this Dedenne going down. Still not enough, mind you. Because I've got a Dedenne down. I hate having to play Dedenne. Again, if I lose this game, tournament's over. That's it. I'm done. And I'm sitting here. And here's the thing, right? I don't... Once that Diancie clears a bench space, I'm actually feeling pretty good. I don't want the Dedenne down. Obviously, I don't want the Dedenne down. But I look at it and I'm like, you know what? I've got my Drillbur. I've got my Spiritomb. I've got 2 Blitzle. I've got the Hustlebout on the Spiritomb. So Rainbow Energy next turn, and Spiritomb's got what it needs. And I'm really not feeling terrible, except for the Dedenne. So now we see a Power Pad, presumably to get a Welder back. Yeah, a pair of Welder back. They need some kind... And maybe they whiff the switch. No, there's the escape board. Chance would be a fine thing. It'd be nice if they did, though, wouldn't it? Oh, now this... No, I don't know what they're in their hand. They might have a switch in hand. It's always risky. I have played against many people who have gone for that one last Jirachi and then found they don't have any kind of way to get it out the active. And then it's just opened up a turn for me. Here, I mean, the other thing about Diancie, and I know it is a slim hope. It is a slim hope. Oh, it worked! Now, what I'm assuming here is that my opponent is unable to actually get the free energy to KO Diancie. Because that's the other thing. Diancie is one of the very few Pokemon I've got that actually takes free energy in hand to KO, and maybe my opponent just didn't have it. That doesn't help. That doesn't help at all. So we draw a couple of recovery cards and a couple of cards to get me basics when I've already got a bench full of basics. Now remember, and I know I'm only playing one, so I cannot complain here, but if I were to draw Air Balloon, that would turn this game around. An Air Balloon here would be huge, but we don't have it. So, the good news is I'm going to return the first KO my opponent gets. The bad news is, again, it is all about the prize race. If I take the first KO, I'm good. If I don't bench Dedenne, I'm good. If I do both, and benching that Diancie, I honestly don't know if it was the right play or not. Maybe they would have had the KO on Drillbur. Now, if they didn't have the KO on Drillbur, maybe that was a mistake. But then again, I never drew the Excadrill anyway, so it bought me a turn. I dearly wish I didn't have that Dedenne on the bench. If I didn't have Dedenne on the bench, I am feeling 100% confident about this matchup right now. Except for the whole I've got no supporters in hand again. But that happens. Seriously, where are all my supporters at? I am playing plenty. And it doesn't have to be a supporter. It can be a Zeb Striker. It can be a Great Ball for a Zeb Striker. Wish I played some basic fire energy, frankly. I don't, for what it's worth. So, yeah. Oh, man. The old version of that card did let you discard a basic fighting from your hand, which I do play, to draw 2 cards. Scorched Earth, but hey-ho. So my opponent's going to get the KO here. The good news is I've got the KO on board. I've already got the KO on board. Spiritomb will get a KO. So I've got a turn. Now again, I've lost that Diancie, which kind of sucks, but it's not the end of the world. Now I've drawn a Rainbow Energy, but there's nothing really to attach it to, so I'm going to go and get myself a Spiritomb. And then, I will need a Hustle Belt, but at least now a Hustle Belt gets me a KO next turn, or an Excadrill. So I'm still drawing horrendously. And I'm going to get a couple of Marnie back, partly because they're extra draw power for me, partly because my opponent hasn't got an Oricorio down. So maybe I can play some kind of disruption game here? And you know my opponent doesn't want to play Oricorio. They just don't. Because Spiritomb's way too good at KOing it. Like I say, I misplayed horrifically last game after getting unlucky. That's what it took for me to not be able to KO the Oricorio. Again, watching back that previous game, I should have won that game. That was my game. It was a little bit of luck, and it was just horrendous play on my part. And I do feel slightly embarrassed looking back. And again, we're talking very marginal plays. We're talking about keeping a bench space open just on the off chance. But you know what? I have played enough games with this deck to know better. But like I say, I'm playing this round on tilt. And I admit that. I shouldn't be playing it on tilt. Admitting it's not a bad thing. But I was just not feeling it at this stage. And when you're in that mode, you need a win to build yourself up. Now, my opponent has got the Welder. He's got the Jirachi as well, so he's going to get the KO here. I really need them to bench a 2-prize Pokemon. That would be awesome. Now he gets the energy on the bench, Blacephalon. Using Stellar Wish. I mean, he only needs 1 energy in hand to get the KO. You've got to think he's got it. Okay, there's energy retrieval. So he's definitely got the energy. It's just tough. And like I say, after that turn 1 Marnie, I've had Nout. And I had to play Dedenne to get the Marnie. And since then... But we're okay. We've got a KO on the board. Oh, no, we don't have a KO on the board, actually. We need an Excadrill or we need a Hustle Belt. But the thing is, like, at this stage, it's not just my supporters and my Zeb Striker that give me an out. It's also one of my free Excadrill, one of my Great Balls, one of my 2 remaining Hustle Belt. So you've got to think at this stage I'm going to hit the out. Now, the question is, am I more likely to hit an Excadrill or a Hustle Belt? I don't want to Excadrill. It's as simple as that. Okay, right. That's all right. Now we're good. Now we're rolling. So now we can start building up the KO with Spiritomb. We've got Zeb Strike, and I remember we haven't played a supporter for a couple of turns. So... if we hit a supporter with Zeb Striker, we are good to go. I don't want to put too many cards back in my deck, but I do want access to that Spiritomb for later on in the game. So, it's a bit of a risk. Now, do I attach the fighting to Dedenne? Or do I just... No, I just go. I want to try and build up another attacker. Remember, lack of energy did cost me in the previous game. Okay. Wait. We whiffed it. Good news, boss's orders. Bad news, we don't... Sorry, the reason we put Excadrill active is because we can retreat the... Sorry. We put Spiritomb active because we can retreat Spiritomb. So if we hit the Excadrill but not the Hustle Belt, we do have to drop the energy, but we can retreat the Spiritomb. That's why that goes active. We still don't have it. We still don't have the KO. That is... How do I whiff that? Like, we use Zeb Striker, we use Marnie. We needed an Excadrill, or a way to search Excadrill, or a Hustle Belt, and we whiffed them all. How do we whiff that? And we needed this, right? We needed this. This is a game we need. This is a game that decides if we get to carry on in the tournament or not. And... that's just... Again, that's really unlikely. And unlike in the previous game, I cannot point to a bunch of stuff that I could have done this weird little play. No, I just whiffed. I put the Spiritomb active to maximize my chances of having an attacker. I've done everything, as far as I can see, I've done everything right here. And I still whiffed the KO. So now, I am a prize behind. I've got Dedenne on the bench. And nothing. And it is hard to see where I come back from this. I just need my opponent to whiff. Now the good news is I did Marnie them, and after Marnieing them, they've not done much. They've gone and got their Cramorant. And they're recovering a couple of Blacephalon. Remember, Blacephalon GX has got that nice attack that just essentially takes a prize. Or it discards a prize, but same kind of deal. So that's useful if he's down at 3 prizes remaining. And it's a single energy attack. But, oh wow. Does my opponent have no energy? I think my opponent might have 0 energy in hand. And they've gone very aggressive on the... And they've played a lot of fire... They don't have the energy! Oh, yes! Oh, we might be back, ladies and gentlemen. We might be back. Because here's the thing. I'm fairly sure my opponent's hand is trash. I might be able to win this. I'm fairly sure at this stage... The only way my opponent whiffs that KO is if their hand is complete trash. So what we're doing, we're just thinning our deck at this stage. We're just drawing a bunch of stuff we don't want. Playing a bunch of cards we don't want. The plan here is basically grab an Excadrill, which I am not going to want to bench, so I can discard it with Zeb Striker. I am trying to maximize my chances of drawing into what I need. But... yeah, maybe a Spiritomb. Again, we're going to Zeb Striker here. What we're really doing is just making sure we're in a good position. Trying to make sure we get what we want. Now, we've drawn a Marnie. We don't really want to play the Marnie. There's a Zeb Striker. Again, at this stage, we are fairly sure that Marnie actually did its job. That Marnie card hurt my opponent to the point where they don't have anything in their hand. And this is where we start clawing the game back. If they don't... And again, they don't have Oricorio on the bench. And we are going to knock out their only Jirachi. So not only are we fairly sure their hand is trash... but we're getting rid of their only way to fix their hand other than randomly top decking out of it. My opponent has been... oh, okay, here we go. Here we go. Now, I don't know why the timer's not there. I'll be honest with you. I don't know why the timer's not there. I have no idea. Didn't even notice the timer wasn't there. But for some reason, the timer isn't there. I wish I could give you an answer. But I don't know. I don't even know how to turn the timer on and off on PTCGO, so I have literally no idea where that timer's gone. But if I'm thinking cynically here, my opponent didn't care until they started doing badly in this game. I don't know where the timer is. I have no idea where the timer is. Could be anywhere. This is me literally forgetting where the chat is. I know where it is. Just at that point, I could not remember where the chat is. It's gone. Walkies. I'm going to have to go and talk to him on Battlefly. You're going to see a little jump in the video in a second where I go and chat to him on Battlefly. All I really said was, oh no, that's not cool. That is not cool. My opponent basically just joking about the fact that I could just sit here and time the game out and win, which they could, and then I just asked them not to. But that, I get a weird vibe when people say stuff like that. Again, nothing was said, and again, I did not realize timer wasn't on. Apologies, I'm going to fix that for next week. But for some reason, when I send a request, the timer doesn't go on. I don't know why. But my opponent said nothing when they were... And bearing in mind, before that Marnie, my opponent was winning the game, having a grand old time, didn't say a word. As soon as they start not winning the game, maybe I'm being cynical here. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt, shall we? I'm sure they won't say anything else. So here, the game is just going in my favour. I've knocked out the Jirachi. My opponent's got nothing. Now, I am actually going to go ahead in the game. And now that I go ahead in the game, that Dedenne on my bench doesn't matter. I'm down to 3 prizes. They're on 4. It is going to take them 3 attacks to win the game. Even if they take out my Dedenne, I can do it in 2 by taking out their Dedenne. So I am all in favour of this. That is good for me. And at this stage, I'm feeling extremely confident. I've got multiple attackers. I've got multiple Zev Striker. I need to draw a boss's orders. If I draw a... Because bearing in mind, right, that Spiritomb, the one sitting on the bench, with the Rainbow Energy and the regular ability, that will KO a Blacephalon. And to be fair, they've only got 30 HP remaining. So they have drawn out of it a little bit. They've got their welder now, but it's too late. That Marnie somehow bought me enough. And I've moaned about my luck in these games. That was lucky. Now my opponent benches Oricorio, so now I've got 2 different targets. And now that Spiritomb doesn't even need a Hustle Belt to take a 2-prize KO. Because, well, to be fair, 3 damage counters will just go and get the Oricorio. So at this stage, the only way I don't win the game is if I can't draw boss's orders. If I draw boss's orders, I'm actually going to win this game. And we're coming back from a game that I did not think I could win. I did not think I was going to win this game. I didn't see how I could, except for that. Now, here you are going to see a gigantic misplay because either I made a last-minute change to my deck or I'm dumb. I will let you be the arbiter. Now, my plan here is to get the KO with Dedenne, do 50 damage using the GX attack, and bounce it back to my hand to take Dedenne off my board. It is a wonderful plan with just one major downside. Can anyone spot what I've done dumb? It's a unit energy. I was playing with Aurora energy exactly for this instance, but the discarding from your hand to play Aurora energy was too much, so I swapped it for a unit energy. There's only one in my deck. I have pulled off this move countless times with Aurora energy and unit and Rainbow energy, getting cheeky KOs with Dedenne. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm being dumb. Doesn't really matter, but I'm not proud of myself right now. I just wanted to pull off a really cheeky KO, and I couldn't do it. We discard the fighting so we can recover it with Ordinary Rod if we need to later. We can't recover the unit energy. Now, the good news here is I can actually, and not in a misclick way, I can actually use 11th Hour Tackle here to get a KO without randomly... Remember, I need Boss's Orders. I do not want to accidentally discard it. Annoyingly, I was trying to get a KO on Jirachi using Grimsley and then Dedenne. The one time Grimsley would actually have been good, and Grimsley was prized. Of course it was. But at this stage, I've got this game sewn up. I can just discard cards from my deck using Zeb Striker until I KO Blacephalon, or Dedenne, or Oricorio. Or if I put another damage counter on Spiritomb, he's up to 4 and he's hitting 190. So Spiritomb will get the KO. Excadrill will get the KO, assuming I can get to a low enough deck size, which I've drawn Professor Sycamore, I definitely can. So I've got so many ways to win the game here. So 8 cards left in hand. I should evolve the Excadrill just to be nice. I love Excadrill. Let's not be mean to the poor boy. So now we play, or girl, now we play Professor's Research, go down to 1 card left in my hand, on my deck, and then I can just, and don't misclick, don't misclick, don't misclick, don't misclick, get the KO, and we win. An improbable victory, but we did it. My first individual game win of the tournament. And maybe that's what I need. I'd made some... I mean, they weren't objectively silly mistakes, but they were overly aggressive, didn't need to make them mistakes. But I can bring it back. We're into game 3, and how is there still no draw supporter in my opening hand? 8 draw supporters means the vast majority of the time, you should start with 1. Where are my turn 1 draw supporters? Now, of course, I'm not as salty as I could be. I've got double Quick Ball and I've got Zeb Striker. So, okay, fine. I'd rather not. But actually, I've got Rainbow Energy, I've got Hustle Belt. So what I can do here is get a Blitzel and a Spiritomb, and then I've got a Pokemon to get a KO next turn, and I've got a Blitzel ready to evolve into a Zeb Striker. So, yeah, fine, I whiffed the supporter again. But I can work with this hand. It's a hand I can work with. Now imagine having a Professor's Research and 2 Quick Ball and the Energy and the Hustle Belt. Imagine if that Pow Pow was a Professor's Research. Or the Zeb Striker was. Oh, what an opening hand it would be. But we can work with this. And that's all I'm looking for. It's a moderately janky deck. I'm not expecting perfect hands every game. I am looking for hands I can work with. I am looking for hands that I can use to just get a little bit ahead. And that's what I've got. So, we're doing all right. We're doing okay. I mean, I'd rather have a supporter, but... And again, I'm giving up the first prize, but I don't care. Like I keep saying, I've said it many times, and I'm sorry, it is one of the key points of my matchup against Blacephalon. Don't play Dedenne. Don't do it. Don't play Dedenne. Now, this is upsetting. I really want to get double Blitzel and have double Zeb Striker. I can't. I've got to have an attacker for next turn. So, it's got to be done. This is the only way to build the hand. This is the only way to play this. As far as I'm concerned, at least, it's the only way to play this hand. There is a tiny outside chance that my opponent whiffs a KO, and oh, I love my board. But I should attach that Hustle Belt. Yeah, my opponent's not playing Tool Scrapper, and I don't care if they KO the Spiritomb, because if they KO the Spiritomb, I've got Drill. But I just want something on board that can KO a Blacephalon next turn. I don't much care what it is. And I've got 2 potential Pokemon. Now there's a chance I Zeb Striker and don't hit a supporter, but I'm seeing 5 cards. I've not seen any supporters yet. The maths is in my favour. After having drawn an opening hand of 8 cards, and played 2 Quick Ball, to then draw 5 extra cards, one would imagine I would hit a supporter. It is overwhelmingly likely I'm going to hit a supporter. To be fair, even if I whiff the supporter, Spiritomb has got a KO on board. And this is a thought process, right? I need to just keep up with the prize race until because once my deck is rolling, I'm good. You've seen in this is game 5 against Blacephalon in a row. When my deck gets rolling, I just KO turn after turn. When my deck gets rolling, I'm in a great position. But my deck needs to get rolling. And I've just been afforded some time. Now, I know my opponent's going to get that Blacephalon in the active, but the other thing is, right, to get a KO every turn, Blacephalon needs to get energy, Welder with 2 energy, Jirachi out the active, they need to get the Blacephalon in the first place, and they need to have enough energy in hand to get the KO. And Blacephalon is generally a fantastically consistent deck, but it's still asking quite a lot of them to do it every turn. They will whiff sometimes, like we saw in the previous game. And if they whiff, we're looking good. Now, my opponent here has got an Oranguru down. They don't want to bench a 2-prize Pokemon, but I've played this matchup too many times. It is so rare for a Blacephalon to be able to take 4 prizes, or if I'm not playing Dedenne, 5 prizes without benching a 2-prize Pokemon. It's doable. I've seen them do it, but it's so unlikely. We're good. I can work with this hand. So now we got ourselves a Ditto. So what we've got here is a Zebstrika ready to draw. We have now finally got a supporter. So we got a Zebstrika ready to draw. We've got an attacker in the active. We've got an attacker ready to go on the bench. Oh, and there is my Excadrill ready to go. We got a supporter and a Zebstrika for next turn as well. Oh, and there's another. So we can double Zebstrika. And now at this stage, I mean, I'm still behind in the prize race, right? I can still see my opponent. If my opponent just takes a prize for the next 5 turns, they win the game. But they've got to do it without ever benching a 2-prize Pokemon, or else I am going to jump on that, I'm going to take advantage, and I'm almost, at that stage I am going to win the game. So now it's over to my opponent. I have set my board up kind of beautifully, so I can start streaming. I don't want to draw a Hustle Battle without a Spiritomb on the board, I'll be honest, because I've only got 3 of them in my deck, and I need a 4th damage counter if I don't have a Hustle Belt. So I'd really rather not. So now my opponent, every single turn, because they haven't got any, sometimes they get extra attachments. They've got none of them this game. So every single turn, my opponent needs Welder, free energy, Blacephalon, way to get whatever's in the active, probably Jirachi, out of the active, and enough energy in hand to get a KO. And when I put an Excadrill up, that's free energy in hand to get a KO. You'll notice they've got 11 energy in the discard already. They have had to go through a lot of energy to get to this stage. And that's all in my favour. They're asking a lot of their deck. And they can do it. Absolutely they can do it. But I've played this matchup. And that's the thing, right? When you're playing a silly rogue deck like mine, you will play against... I've played against this, Dragapult, the various Zacian lists, Spiritomb, Pikarom. I've played against all of them so many. I've played this matchup dozens of times. And my opponent, now to be fair, my opponent has played this matchup twice. And they've won one of the 2. So. And here's the weird thing, right? I know that this is a favourable matchup for me. I know that I misplayed horribly game 1 because I went way too aggressively. And I got a bit unlucky as well. And that all contributed to the loss. But from my opponent's point of view, what they're probably thinking is, well, I won game 1 and I only lost game 2 because I got Marnied and drew nothing. And to be fair, he was in a winning position before I Marnied and they drew nothing. Okay, fair dues. But that's probably that. So they probably think they're the favourite in this matchup. They probably think they've got an excellent matchup and they're probably expecting to win. But I do not have any faith that they are going to take their next 4 prizes without benching a 2-prize Pokemon. And the second they do, that puts the game over to my advantage. So here comes another Blacephalon. But remember, they've got to do this every single turn. And next turn, they're going to have an Excadrill. So next turn, what they're going to need to try and do is they are going to need to try and... They're going to need to try and get Blacephalon, free energy, welder, free energy in hand, just to get the KO. And if they whiff it, I jump ahead in the prize race. If they go and get an Oricorio or a Dedenne because they whiff it, I jump ahead in the prize race. I know, I'm very confident for a man who's down in the prize race when we're trading single prize Pokemon. To be fair, I'm definitely Marnieing here, so I'm not going to lose that Hustle Belt. I've just drawn unit energy. The only reason to play a Professor Sycamore would have been to try and dig for an energy so I don't whiff the KO. And I would have whiffed the energy, it turns out. Here, I'm loving it. Now, I've got a bunch of Pokemon search on the field. There is an argument to try and go treble Zeb here. Now, here's the thing. My last Zeb Striker is in the discard, and I play a bunch of recovery, but I will need to recover it to do so. But what I can do here is I can get myself a Spiritomb and start building that up. And I can get myself I can get myself another Drillbur and give myself a chance of really just maximize my chances of having an attacker next turn. Remember, for the Spiritomb to attack next turn, I will be needing to get a Rainbow Energy and a Hustle Belt, and they're in my deck. But now, I either need a Rainbow Energy and a Hustle Belt, or I need an Excadrill and an Energy. And I'm always nervous. When I'm randomly discarding, I'm always nervous what's going down. But I've got double Zeb Striker on the field. So even if I don't see a supporter next turn, or even if I boss his orders, I've got 8 cards I can draw. And I feel good about that. And once again, it's over to my opponent. The pressure's on them. Do they have Blacephalon, Welder, free energy, and free energy in hand? So they need 6 energy, Blacephalon, Welder, in order to take a KO here. Now, Heat Factory Prism Star's going to help. They know I'm not playing any counter stadiums here. They know that's going to stick for the game. Yes, I'd like to be playing counter stadiums. I'd love to be playing 4 Martial Arts Dojo. I don't have room. I want to. I want room. And now my opponent's benched Oricorio, and now I'm just like, I'm pretty sure I win now. I feel so confident now they've benched Oricorio. And this is what I've been talking about all game. If my opponent doesn't bench Oricorio, they don't get the KO this turn, and I jump ahead in the prize race. And benching it is still the correct play, because if they don't bench it and whiff a KO, I definitely jump ahead in the prize race. If they do bench it, then I've at least got to have a boss's orders. Now, there is something foul afoot here. You'll notice from all my random discarding, in my discard, we've got a boss's orders and 2 Pal Pad. Which means that boss's orders in my hand is the only one for the game. And again, my opponent can see my deck list. So this does 2 things. Number 1, it means I have got to go hustle about Rainbow Energy next turn. I have no options. Number 2, as soon as I do, my opponent knows I've got no gusting. So they can do stuff like grab a Cramorant. Now I can get a KO with Cramorant, but now it means I have to either bench my Dedenne, or I have to accept that I will not get a KO on Cramorant. Of course, I do play Manaphy, so remember that I can use Manaphy, Phione. They're very similar. I can use Phione to move any Cramorant that goes down, and I can move that Cramorant to then get a KO on whatever goes up in its stead. So it's not the end of the world. So my opponent here, they've finally done it. Assuming they've got 4 energy left in their deck, that's 1 to go on Blacephalon, 3 into their hand. They need 3 more KOs to win the game. And I ain't dropping, at this stage, I'm not dropping Dedenne. I am dropping Dedenne if I desperately need to draw something to win. So I'm not dropping Dedenne. So they've got to try and get, after this, that's 3 more KOs. With all of the awkwardness that entails, it's possible. Like I say, they're still in the driver's seat. But they got to assume I whiff the KO. So, here are the two questions. Can I get a KO on the Oricorio this turn? And even if I do, will the lack of gusting be a problem? And this happens in this deck. Random discard from Excadrill. Okay, that helps. Now I feel so much better. Do I bench Diancie or do I keep the bench space? I kind of want to do both. Nah, we get rid of it. I know it's my only route to KO and a Cramorant, but I've got Manaphy, so... Okay. Is there anything we need from our discard? No energy. Do we need any Pokemon? Nope, we just go for it. Hustle Belt, and this is looking so good. There's the Hustle Belt. Okay. And we've got an Excadrill rolling as well. We basically, at this stage, need one more attacker. One more attacker, and that should be game. Now, of course, I can draw nothing but supporters. But that's okay. We've got the Excadrill to take a prize. And the annoying thing is, right, my opponent now knows they can play the Dene and all of that. They know I'm not gusting for the rest of the game. My gusting is done. My gusting days are over. But I'm now in the driver's seat. I win in 2 attacks. My opponent wins in 3. It's their turn. But they can't attack 3 times before I've attacked twice. I put an energy onto Excadrill next turn. Now, I will need another attacker. I will need to build up an attacker. But as long as I can build up one more attacker, this game should be in the bag. Now, bearing in mind, when we were halfway through Game 2 of this round, I was 1 game down, I was massively behind in the prize race, and it took a fortuitous Marnie to get me back into the game. Although... I'm still going to contend that the good luck on the Marnie, all it really did was undo a lot of the bad luck I'd faced previously in the round. So I'm not... Don't get me wrong, I know I got lucky with the Marnie, but I don't think it was really over the top lucky. And you see, now my opponent's not probably going to be whiffing attacks anymore because I gave them an extra turn to Welder by taking out the Oricorio, but I don't care. Makes no odds to me. There is a part of me that regrets discarding that Diancie because it's now lost zoned. And Diancie will allow me to get a one-hit KO on Cramorant. But then again, if I've got a Diancie on the bench and my opponent gets Cramorant, what do you think they're going to KO? They're definitely going to go after the Cramorant. The Diancie. Because that's how I get a KO. 180 plus Diancie, 200 minus resistance. So... Wait. No, I don't think I even can get a KO on Cramorant, can I? I'm thinking Oricorio. Oricorio, I need it. No, sorry. I'm being completely dumb here. I can't KO Cramorant. That's a lie. I can KO Cramorant with a 5 damage counter Hustle Belt Spiritomb. That's how I do it. Possible. Very unlikely. That's why I discarded Diancie. I was being dumb. I apologize. That's how I KO Oricorio. Cramorant is doable, but not with the board state I've got right now. I need to start pulling some double Spiritomb Jinx shenanigans here. But again, I don't need to. I don't need to KO a Cramorant. All I need to do here is just build up attackers. Now I've got a Drillbur ready to evolve. I've got 2 Spiritombs starting to build up damage. And now it's really just... It's trying to maximize my chances at this stage. It's trying to make sure I can draw into what I need to. Oh, do I get rid of the Dedenne? The problem with the Dedenne is, in the late game, when I'm desperately searching for that one card to win the game, the Dedenne is so good. Okay, and I hit the Manaphy. Fiona. They're very similar Pokemon. That's not good. I did not want to hit the Fiona. Because at this stage, right, there's one prize remaining for me. My opponent's gonna go Cramorant. My opponent's only out at this stage is to get Cramorant, knowing that I can't really... No, I can't KO. I can get a maximum 3 damage counters onto my Spiritomb. With a Hustle Bout, that makes me hit 190. I'm 10 damage shy. Again, did I need to bench that Drillbur? Probably not. No, I did need to bench the Drillbur, because the Drillbur's what evolves and gets a KO. Yeah, I just didn't have enough bench space. So there comes the Cramorant. And my opponent's plan basically here is hit something on the bench, probably a Zeb Striker. And then if I don't get the return KO, they just do it again. But I haven't used my Brock's Grit yet. My Brock's Grit is in my deck. So what I essentially do is I use the Dene to hopefully draw my Brock's Grit. Then when I just need to draw Brock's Grit when I've got 1 Zeb Striker remaining. Because then I Brock's Grit in my Fione, and then I Zeb Striker to draw it. It's not guaranteed, but it's highly likely. Although we've had issues like that this game. And then at that stage, I'm feeling very, very confident. Starting to look good. There's the double welder. And I might Marnie them next turn. There's a very good chance I will Marnie them. But they've got draw power. Yeah, not a huge amount, I suppose. I can still try and lock them out of the game. So, now he's got a bunch of welder. Arguably, well, Power Pad went back in. Now the welder's come out. So we're going to see a welder with free energy here onto the Cramorant. And, I mean, kudos to my opponent here. They have kept this rolling. They had 11 energy in the discard really early in the game. And since then, they have just kept getting the KO turn after turn after turn. They have just kept going and kept getting that welder and getting everything they need to just keep rolling with KOs. They have done an exceptional job keeping going here. But I've got my out. I've got 1 prize remaining. Everything on their bench gets KO'd by Excadrill. I've got an Excadrill and a Fighting Energy in hand. I've got a Marnie and a Dene in hand. I'm going to draw a lot of cards next turn. And I know that the Fione's in my discard. And yes, obviously I hate that I discarded it using Excadrill. But it's really not the end of the world. This is why I play so many recovery cards. So there's the Spit Shot. Actually onto my Excadrill. And I'm loving that, because they've just increased the chance of me winning. Oh, and I've drawn my Brock's Grit. That's the game. Top decking Brock's Grit is absolutely the game there. Because now the annoying thing of Brock's Grit is you've got to put 6 back. I want to just put Manaphy back. But that's not an option. So I'm just going to draw. It really doesn't matter. Let's get my moles out. There's nothing I can even evolve. But here, I've played my Brock's Grit. By the way, when I said I might Marnie, I'm clearly not going to Marnie. That was a weird slip. So, I don't even need to Dene here. There's my Fione. And now, whatever they put active, I KO with Excadrill. And I'm moving on. Improbably, I'm into round 3. Oh, I pulled that one out. After halfway through game 2, did not think that was happening. That was good, ladies and gentlemen. I feel good about that. Oh, come on. Don't be that guy. That is not cool. Because here's the thing, right? I know... I'm going to get a little bit preachy here for a minute. I know that I just knocked them out the tournament. Because as much as if I'd lost that game, I'm out the tournament, they did lose that game, they are out the tournament. I understand that they are disappointed that they've been eliminated. I get that entirely. And they should be disappointed. Because this is a fun tournament, it's a big tournament. I completely understand it. But there's no excuse for bad sportsmanship. I mean, first of all, they went, oh, my opponent's just made it into next round. They're really excited. Right. Let's try and take that excitement away from them. And I've said many times, right, if you're the kind of person that sees somebody getting excited and tries to take that away from them, that's not cool. You're not being a nice person when you do that. Secondly, I mean, look, the irony is I knocked you out the tournament and then, you know, I kept going. So if I'm playing a trash deck... what does that say about either your deck or you as a player? So you might want to think your insult out just a little bit better than that. Secondly, it's just not cool. Because you know what? I don't care. Like, I am buzzing at this stage, right? I've just gone in. I've just won a game that I did not think I was going to win. I came back from really on the ropes. I won a game. I'm carrying on with the tournament, and I feel good. I am buzzing. But you know if they say that to me, they're going to say it to other people. And we don't need that. This is a fun game. It's an inclusive game. Let's be friendly. Let's make people happy. You don't have to say anything when you lose. But you don't have to say anything nasty. Just don't be, seriously, don't be that guy. The next time you lose a game of Pokemon and you want to be rude to your opponent, my advice to you, more of a plea, don't. Don't be that guy. Nobody likes that guy. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that my opponent was having a bad day, and that's not who they usually are. Of course, it does add a bit more context to their earlier joke about just sitting there and letting the timer run out. Makes me feel a bit less easy about that. Hey-ho, that's round 2 or 3, depending how you look at it. We're moving in. We need 2 more wins to qualify for Top Cut, so join me for the next game, will ya? Comment, like, subscribe. You know the deal at this stage. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, PTCG Radio. Bye!